So, okay, anyway, so let us begin our lesson. Where we stopped yesterday, I mean in the last class,
Intrinsic.
uh, intrinsic and extrinsic semiconductor, and of course we have discussed the whole as a carrier transport in semiconductor, right? Okay, so what is that we discussed about intrinsic semiconductor? A perfect semiconductor crystal with no impurities or lattice defects is called an intrinsic semiconductor. And how do you identify whether it is an intrinsic semiconductor or not? What is the property of an
Property
intrinsic?
of it.
Ah, what is the
Number of particles per number.
ah, very good. Number of electrons is equal to number of holes, and that number of electrons or number of holes is equal to intrinsic carrier concentration Ni. Okay, where Ni is the intrinsic carrier concentration. And what is the value for Ni in the case of silicon? 1.5 into 10 to the power of 10 per centimeter cube. Okay, and how do I get this number for a particular silicon? This is been given by some formula like B, some constant, into T power 3 by 2 into e power minus Eg by 2 kT. Okay, so B is a constant. So you could understand that intrinsic carrier concentration of any material is dependent on the temperature at which you are considering the concentration and the energy band gap. The more the energy band gap, the lesser the intrinsic carrier concentration. Okay, and we have understood how hole is acting as a charge carrier for the current conduction process. So we have seen with respect to diagrams, when I apply an electric field in this particular direction, then let us assume that electron is came out and become free electron, then that place is being what is called as a hole. And if some other valence electron is coming and occupying this hole or empty space in the covalent bond, then the hole is going to start move from its place to the place where from the valence electron has come out. Okay, and that we have understood with respect to this diagram. So when valence electron has come out, it is going to become free electron, and that place is going to be called as a hole. When there is a hole or a space or a vacancy site, then the valence electrons have a chance of coming and occupying that space. So then naturally the hole is likely to move. So yesterday we have seen that when valence electron is moving from left to right, hole is going to move from right to left. So that is hole movement is always opposite to that of the valence electron movement. Okay. So this is all what we have seen yesterday. And one more important concept here is effective mass. Okay, effective mass. Hole movement means which electron is moving. Hole movement is always opposite to which electron?
Valence electron.
Valence electron. Okay, so you have already understood the difference between valence electron and free electron. What is the difference? Valence electron means it has already involved in the bond formation. Free electron means it has got no bondings, it has no relation with anyone else, it is now free to move within the crystal in any way. Okay, so in that particular aspect, the movement of bound electrons or valence electrons is different from the movement of free electrons in response of electric field. Whenever we apply the electric field, free electron movement and the bound electron or the valence electron movement is different. Okay, so the movement of free electron is different and the movement of bound electron is different. Tell me whether free electron is going to move much freely with much ease, or valence electron is going to move with much ease.
Free
free
electron.
free electron is always okay is going to move with much ease because it doesn't have any association with anything else, whereas valence electron means until and otherwise it is going to come out of that particular covalent bond, it cannot occupy any of the vacancies near to it, and then there is no possibility of movement of the hole. Okay, so that is why this particular this particular movement, rate of change in the movement is being captured by means of a term called effective mass. Okay, So when I consider effective mass, the effective mass of electron is greater than, sorry, it is written wrongly. Okay, effective mass of electron. Okay, one second, I'll just change it. Okay. So the effective mass of whole is larger. See, for example, I am the person with 100 kgs weight. You are the person with 50 kgs weight. Who is going to move much faster? You or I? I am having a weight of 100 kgs. You are having a weight of 50 kgs. Who is going to move much faster? You or I?
Me.
Yeah,
Me.
yeah, because
Yes, sir.
the person, the person with less weight is going to move much faster because that weight will not affect his movement. Unlike that, if my weight is too heavy, then I'll take a very large amount of time to move. My movement will be very limited. Okay, so in that particular aspect, my mass of hole is very large compared to mass of electron. Okay, why my mass of hole is very large? Because my movement of hole is dependent on movement of valence electron, and my movement of valence electron is all dependent on whether there is a vacancy near to the particular valence electron, and whether the valence electron can come out of that particular covalent bond or not. So there are various aspects. Okay, so that is why my mass of the hole is larger always compared to the mass of the electron. But here I am calling not simply the mass, but I am calling it as effective mass. So this Mn represents the effective mass of electron, and Mp represents the effective mass of hole. So the effective mass of hole is always greater than the effective mass of electron. Is the point is okay? Remember the term effective mass. Okay, there is a difference between effective mass. Okay, why effective mass has brought into the picture? Because because hole movement is different from the free electron movement. So this different rate of difference, because force is same. The same electric field is being applied either onto your free electron or onto your valence electron. Same force, but because of this particular difference in the rate of movement, we are assigning a particular term what is called as effective mass. Okay, and effective mass of hole is very large compared to the effective mass of electron. Okay, right. So, with the help of our knowledge so far, my current in a semiconductor is due to which particles? My current in a semiconductor is due to which particles?
Holes and
Yeah,
free electron.
free electrons and holes. Okay, hole movement means what? Holes are moving from left to right, meaning what?
Opposite to the movement of valence electron.
Valence electrons. That means when holes are moving from left to right, electrons are moving from right to left. Okay, right. So let us consider a semiconductor, okay, in which you could see two type of charge particles. One is hole, another is electron. Here it is shown with this particular blue ball as a free electron and the white ball as your hole. Okay, and I am applying an electric field. Electric field is in which direction? Left to right or right to left? Electric field is in which?
Left to right.
Left
Left to right.
Left to right.
Very good. Left to right. When electric field is from left to right, my electron movement will be from left to right or
Right
right?
to left.
My electron
Right
movement,
to
yes, yes, very good. My electron movement will always be in the direction opposite to that of the electric field. Okay. So what is the direction of my holes? What is the direction of my holes? Direction of holes.
In the direction of the electric field.
In the direction of the electric field. So electron direction will be in the direction of opposite to electric field. Hole direction will be in the direction of same as the electric field. Okay, why? Because if holes are moving from left to right, electrons are moving from right to left. Okay, so if my electrons are moving from right to left, the current due to these electrons will be from left to right or right to left? Current due to the electrons is always in the direction opposite to the motion of the electrons. Yes or no? You might have learned long back ago. So my current due to the electrons will be in which direction?
Left to right.
left to right. So current flow is from right to left. So current due to the electrons will be from left to right. Okay. So current due to the electrons is always opposite to the motion of electrons. Electrons are in this direction. So current due to those electrons will be in the opposite direction. Similarly, current due to the holes will be in which direction? Current due to the holes will be in which direction?
Right to left.
No. Current
No,
due
sir.
to
Left to right only, sir.
left to right only. Why? Because holes are moving from left to right means electrons, valence electrons are moving from which direction?
Right to left.
Right to left. When electrons are moving from right to left, current due to those electrons will be from left to
Left
right.
to right.
So that is why current due to the holes will be same as the flow of holes. See, if I say the flow of holes, current due to the holes will be in the same direction. Okay. Whenever I say that, because I know, because you know very well that hole means movement of the opposite to the movement of the valence electrons. So that my valence electrons are from right to right to left. So my current due to those valence electrons is always from opposite to the motion of electrons. So that is why from left to right. Okay. You can understand in either way, either in terms of valence electrons. If you understand in terms of valence electrons, then your current is opposite to the motion of valence electrons. But if you say that holes are moving in from left to right, then current due to the holes will be also from left to right. Okay. Or in terms of electric field direction, if electric field direction is from left to right, hole flow is also from left to right, then current flow is due to the holes will also from left to right. These are all very important and basic. Okay. Fundamentals. You should never forget these things. Okay. So again, so in a semiconductor, what are the two important charge carriers, electrons and holes? And the moment I say electron means, what does it mean? Electron simply means free electron. Hole means you have understood the concept of hole. What is the concept of hole? Hole is moving in a particular direction means in the opposite direction valence electron is moving. Okay. Movement of valence electron is what is being captured in terms of the holes. Because holes are existing, valence electron is able to contribute. Okay, because holes are existing, valence electron is able to contribute to the current conduction process. Okay, we have understood with respect to the electric field direction, in which direction the electrons are flowing, in which direction the holes are flowing. Because of the electrons, the current is in which direction. Because of the holes, the current is in which direction. Okay, so that the total current is due to the total current that is flowing in the semiconductor is from which is in which direction, and it is due to which current?
Left to right.
Very good. And it is due to
Holes and free
electrons. Okay.
electron.
The total current in a semiconductor is in the direction of the electric field, and it is given by the electron current, and it is given by the hole current. The sum of both the electron and hole current, because they are in the same direction, so I can add. So the total current is current due to the electrons and current due to the holes, and it will be in the direction of the electric field. Very good. Let us see the expression. Okay, you have already seen in our conductivity expression, J is equal to sigma E. J is current density, sigma E is your conductivity of the semiconductor, and E is the applied electric field to your semiconductor. So that what is sigma is? Sigma is, you have already learned yesterday, that N Q mu N sigma is given by N Q mu N plus P Q mu P. So that when I replace my sigma in my equation, J is equal to sigma E. Okay, so I will be getting this equation. So J is equal to NQ mu N E plus PQ mu P E. Okay, but what we are looking for? We are looking for I. Okay, so J is equal to I by A, so that I is equal to J. So you multiply your J expression with A, so that you will be getting your current. So what is my current is given by? Current in a semiconductor is given by N Q mu N into E into A. Just I am multiplying with A. A is the area. Okay. So P Q mu P into E into A. So this is what is the current. So that what is my electron current is given by? Electron current is given by this expression, and hole current is given by this expression. So in any semiconductor, current is due to both the electrons as well as due to the holes. It is fine so far?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us now start with extrinsic semiconductor. Okay. So by this time you might have some idea regarding extrinsic semiconductor. Okay, so what is extrinsic semiconductor? Anyone?
Impurity added to intrinsic semiconductor.
Okay, very good. Okay, very good. See, the purpose of adding impurities is to increase the conductivity. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. My question is, by increasing temperature, your electron hole pairs can be generated. So why don't you look for increasing your conductivity by means of increasing temperature? If you increase your temperature, okay, your intrinsic carrier concentration is going to increase. That is, your electron hole pairs increases. So your conductivity is going to increase. So why you are looking for adding impurities? Anyone? Okay. So
More conductivity.
yes, yes. Say loudly.
More conductivity.
No. Okay. So I'll give you the answer. Okay. I'll give you the answer, or I'll give you the definition. Okay. I'll give you the definition. You just understand. So what is the definition? Doping. Adding impurities is doping. Okay. So you said that extrinsic semiconductor means adding impurities to the intrinsic semiconductor leads to the extrinsic semiconductor. And how do you add impurities is with a process what is called as doping. Okay. Understand why doping is required. Okay. So I am not interested in, okay, I am not interested in controlling my conductivity with respect to temperature, with respect to electron hole pair generation. Okay. So I am interested in, see, primarily I want my current due to either electrons or holes. I don't want my current due to both the electrons and holes. Okay. Before semiconductor, what is the metal we are very much extensively used? Metal. In the metal, what are the charge carriers? Electrons. Now, so even though semiconductor has come, until semiconductor has come, your all applications are dependent on your charge carrier as electron. Okay. And suddenly semiconductor has come, though it has got two charge particles, you are looking for getting the current out of only one type of charge carriers. Let it be electrons or let it be holes. Then how do I do? If I start increasing the temperature, not only electrons but also holes are increasing. My current is due to both the charge carriers. That I don't want. Okay. I want my current due to only one type of charge carriers, just like similar to my metals. Okay. I have got enough number of applications earlier with my metal, but suddenly due to some limitations with my metal, I have shifted my turn to your semiconductor, and suddenly semiconductor found to be two charge carriers, but still I want only the current due to only one type of charge carriers. So then I have got an application, then I have got a process what is called as doping. What is this doping is doing is, this doping is nothing but adding impurity atoms, either pentavalent or your trivalent impurities, to your intrinsic semiconductor to create the charge carriers. Okay, to create the charge carriers in addition to the intrinsic semiconductor, in addition to the intrinsic carriers generated. There are already certain intrinsic carriers. Okay, we have learned that for silicon it is 1.5 into 10 to the power of 10. Likewise, for any material there are certain number of intrinsic carriers. In addition to those intrinsic carriers, you are creating charge carriers, but not both the electrons and holes. Only one type of charge carriers you are creating by means of this doping. If you are adding impurities called pentavalent impurities, you are likely to add more number of electrons but not the holes. Okay, if you are adding impurities like your trivalent impurities, you are trying to increase more number of holes but not the electrons. So when you are interested in increasing only one type of charge carriers, either electrons or holes, then this doping is being extensively used. Did you get my point? Yes or no? Did you get my point?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So whenever what is doping is being asked means you should not confine to doping means adding impurities to the intrinsic semiconductor. That is not sufficient. Okay, what is important is you are making the current conductivity is only due to predominantly. I don't say that no electrons are. If I say current is due to electrons, I don't say that holes are not there. Okay, there are there, but what is dominating is important. So predominantly you want the current due to only one type of charge carriers, then your doping is helping you. Okay, so we will see later on how does this doping is going to do that particular activity, that we will see. Okay, So when we add impurities to the intrinsic semiconductor, we will be getting the extrinsic semiconductor. Okay. So and in the extrinsic semiconductor, there are two varieties. One is N-type. Okay. So when I will be getting N-type, when I add pentavalent impurities to the intrinsic semiconductor, the resultant semiconductor I will call it as extrinsic semiconductor, and in particular N-type. Okay. When I will be getting N-type semiconductor, when I add pentavalent impurities. Any examples for pentavalent impurities? Arsenic, phosphorus. Very good, very good. Arsenic, phosphorus, okay, antimony, bismuth, okay. All elements whose outermost shell electrons consist of 5 valence electrons, they are called as pentavalent impurities. And when we add such type of impurities to your intrinsic semiconductor, then the resultant semiconductor you call it as N-type. Okay. Why N-type? That we will see later on, or you can see in this statement itself. Why N-type means because in that resultant semiconductor you could see electrons as the majority carriers and holes as the minority carriers. That is why you are calling it as N-type. N-type means electrons are the majority charge carriers. Okay, holes are the minority charge carriers. Here we are not saying that holes are not at all there. Okay, so holes are also there, but they are very less in number compared to the electrons. Okay. There is another type of semiconductor, okay, coming under this extrinsic semiconductor, that is p-type. So when I can get p-type, now you can easily tell.
Trivalent.
Adding, very good. Adding trivalent impurities to intrinsic semiconductor results to the extrinsic semiconductor, what is called as p-type. And why it is called p-type? Very good. Very good. Holes are majority carriers and electrons are minority carriers. Okay. Your answers are very good. It seems like you have already learned all these things. Okay. Very good. So let us go into some more detail. Okay. So as we have already mentioned that. Okay. So adding impurities like pentavalent impurities to the intrinsic semiconductor. Okay. It makes the electrons to be the majority carriers. Let us see how electrons are going to be majority. Okay. Let us start with p-type semiconductor. So doping means what? You said that adding. Okay. You said that adding pentavalent impurities. If it is a p-type means trivalent impurities. Trivalent means what? In the outermost shell only 3 valence electrons are there.
Yeah.
Then such materials you call it as trivalent impurities. Examples are aluminum, boron, very good.
Silicon.
No. Silicon is 4 valence electrons. Silicon, to the silicon only you are adding. Okay, silicon only you are adding. But what type of impurities you are adding? Trivalent. Trivalent means in their outermost orbit, 3 valence electrons has to present. Okay. So such elements are all third group. Okay, all third group elements are trivalent. So boron, aluminum. Okay. Right. So look at here. Is the slide is visible? Okay. So look at here. What I have done is actually in place of aluminum there would have been a silicon. Okay. In place of aluminum there would have been a silicon if I consider an intrinsic semiconductor. Yes or no? Yes or no? If I consider an intrinsic semiconductor in place of aluminum there would have been a silicon, but by means of this doping process. What is the doping process? Adding impurities to the intrinsic semiconductor. Okay. So due to this particular process, what I was able to do is I am able to replace my silicon with this aluminum. Okay, I am able to replace this silicon with this aluminum. Okay, so how I can replace the silicon with this aluminum during this due to this doping process, that you will learn at your PG level. But here we will understand that okay, due to the doping process, we are able to replace my silicon with aluminum. Then what is happening? Okay, let us start with adding only one aluminum atom. Okay, let us start with adding only one aluminum atom. When I am adding only one aluminum atom, as aluminum atom is having 3 valence electrons, all the 3 valence electrons are being involved in the bond formation with the neighboring silicon atoms. Okay, got my point? All the 3 valence electrons of the aluminum are involved in the bond formation of the silicon atoms which are nearer to the aluminum atom. But there is one more vacancy site here, because there is nothing. Aluminum has got only 3 valency electrons, so the nearby silicon atoms have got involved in the bond formation, and for this silicon atom, okay, for this silicon atom to perform the bond formation, there is nothing. So that means what? Absence of an electron in a covalent bond, what it is, we are calling presence of hole. So that means what? Adding one aluminum impurity atom to the intrinsic silicon, what it is creating? It is creating a hole. Okay, it is creating a hole. In fact, this is not a complete covalent bond. Okay, why not complete covalent bond? Because only one valence electron is there. Covalent bond means sharing of 2 valence electrons of the 2 atoms has to be taken place. But because aluminum has got no valence electron to get shared with the silicon atom, here it is being called as presence of hole or simply hole. So adding one aluminum atom to the intrinsic silicon is creating one hole. Okay, is this fine? Yes or no? So whenever there is a yes, whenever there is a hole, you know how hole is contributing as a current as a charge carrier. Okay, now you tell me, suppose if a hole is moving, current is there, how does hole can move? If this valence electron is coming and occupying this, then this hole is going to move from here to here. If this valence electron is going to come and occupy this, then this hole is going to come and go here. That means there can be a hole movement if there is a vacancy and available valency electrons. Yes or no? Right?
Yes, sir.
So in the p-type semiconductor, what is happening is, p-type means adding trivalent impurity atoms, either boron or aluminum. It is having 3 valence electrons. All the 3 valence electrons have involved in the bond formation with the neighboring silicon atoms. Thereby it is creating one hole. So one aluminum atom is going to create one hole. Suppose I want 100 holes. What I have to do? Suppose I want if I require 100 holes, I need to add 100 aluminum atoms. That's all, nothing else, nothing more. Okay, is this fine?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, am I creating electrons, free electrons, because of this adding trivalent impurity atoms?
No, sir.
No. Unlike that, if I start increasing temperature, is only electron is created or also hole is created by means of increase in temperature? By means of increase in temperature, covalent bond is broken, both electron as well as hole is created. I don't want both the charge carriers to get increased parallelly. I want only one type of charge carrier. So adding trivalent impurity atoms is creating holes. Okay. See, look at here. Okay. So let us represent in terms of energy band diagram. Okay. So this is the conduction band. This is the valence band. And I have represented the bottom edge of the conduction band. Understand carefully. From next time onwards, we will not represent like boxes. Okay. It is too time consuming to represent like boxes like this. Okay. So understand carefully. What I am interested is, I am interested in the bottom edge of the conduction band. I am interested in the top edge of the valence band. Okay, and the gap between valence band and the conduction band is forbidden energy gap. Okay, because of addition of this trivalent impurity atoms, what has been created here? What has been created here? An acceptor energy level is being created. Okay, an acceptor energy level has been created. This acceptor energy level belongs to which element?
Hole.
No. This acceptor energy level belongs to atom. Which atom?
Boron.
Boron or aluminum, whatever we have added as our p-type element. Okay, so p-type means adding trivalent impurity atoms. So when I add a boron or aluminum, it will be having acceptor energy level. Okay, see, that means how many atoms I have added here? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 10 atoms I have added. That is what I am shown here. Okay, 10 boron or aluminum atoms I have added, so that each of the boron atom is creating a hole. Okay, each of the boron atom is creating a hole. See, earlier in between EC and EV there is no energy states available. Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Now there is an energy state available, okay, belonging to the dopant atoms that you are adding to your intrinsic semiconductor. In this particular case, it will be an either boron atom or an aluminum atom. Okay. So because you are adding to your intrinsic semiconductor, a new energy level has come here. Okay. And what it is representing? Do all the holes are having same energy? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. That means, what do you say? Let us say have a thought process. Okay. So what do you say about these 10 boron or aluminum atoms? Okay. Whether they are very closely packed or their distance is very far away. You know that when atoms are very close to each other, okay, the energy levels are going to split into energy states. Yes or no? Each of the energy of the electron is not same, and it is going to split into energy levels. That is what we have seen when atoms are brought very close to each other. Okay, but here I am saying that all the holes are having same energy. Only one energy level is shown, and all are being represented on the same energy level. That means the particle is having the same energy. All the particles are having same energy. That means, what you are understanding? You have done very lightly. Very no. Is the distance between the boron or aluminum atoms is very large or very less?
Large.
Very large. That means less number of boron or aluminum atoms are added. That means lightly doped. Okay, less number of adding less number of dopants is nothing but lightly doped. Unlike that, suppose if I am adding more number of heavily doped, that means what? More number of dopants are added. Then what happens? Expected. We have learned all these. No. See, don't get confused. I am saying that if large number of boron atoms are added, suppose only 4 boron atoms are there, they are very far away to each other, so no splitting of energy levels takes place. Unlike that, if 100 boron atoms are added, all are very close to each other, so that the energy levels are going to split into 100 energy levels. Yes or no? Yes or no?
Yes.
That is what is my point is. Instead of this particular, that means another band you could see. That band you can give the name as acceptor energy band. Got my point? Because my dopant atoms are very far away, lightly doped. Okay, all the holes created by your boron or aluminum are having same energy. Unlike that, see, this will never be in any of the textbook. This is the thought process. Okay, just we are thinking what can happen if more number of dopants are being added. If more number of boron or aluminum atoms are being added, you can expect, okay, splitting of energy levels even among the boron atoms. So that means, instead of calling it as an acceptor energy level, you can call it as an acceptor energy band. Okay, right. See, but we are not interested in the holes that are there in the acceptor energy level. Okay, but what we are interested in, we have learned that holes are always existing in valence band, and holes in the valence band only are going to contribute to your current conduction. Then what you have to do for getting your holes in the valence band, or I'll redraw this particular diagram for a better understanding instead of this boxes. Okay, so I'll represent simply like this. It will be very convenient. Okay, I have considered only the bottom edge of the conduction band. I have considered the top edge of the valence band, and in between there will be a forbidden energy gap, and in this particular case there is an acceptor energy level, so that all are occupied with the holes. Okay, now can anyone tell me, I want my holes to be in the valence band. Here I want my holes. So under what condition I will be having holes here?
High temperature, sir. Increasing temperature, sir.
No. Don't bring into the temperature. We are no more interested in temperature. That is why you brought into the picture the process what is doping. Okay. Again, if you say that I want to increase temperature, again your electron hole pair generation takes place, and along with your electron holes increases, and your whole purpose you will get deviated. So no, don't bring the temperature into consideration. So understand the question. I want holes in my valence band. So what happens so that my holes I will be getting in my valence band? What actually are there in the valence band?
Valence
Valence electrons are there. Valence band is 100% occupied by all the valence electrons, 4 n electrons. Okay. So suppose if one of the valence electron, okay, suppose if one of the valence electron has jumped from valence band to this available empty state. Where is available in the empty state? Earlier, I am having available empty states in the conduction band, but the gap is very large. I have to struggle a lot in moving from valence band to the conduction band. But now what you have done, you have reduced the distance for your valence electrons to move into the empty states. Got my point? What you have done is you have made your job of your valence electrons to jump from valence band to the some other place, so that holes are being created in the valence band. Okay, so valence electron in the valence band can now move from valence band to this particular energy level. Okay, and the energy that is required for moving your valence electrons from the valence band to this acceptor energy level is very small. At most it is 0.01 electron volts. Okay, it is very small, 0.01 electron volts. So that will be given even at the room temperature. You don't do anything at room temperature, that energy is automatically given to your valence electrons in the valence band, so that once my valence electron has come and occupy this hole, then a hole is created in my valence band. Again, my valence electron in the valence band has come and occupy this particular hole, then the holes are being filled with the valence electrons, and the valence electrons are going to become the holes in the valence band. Did you understand what I'm saying? When my valence electrons are moving to occupy these particular holes available in the acceptor energy level, holes are being created in the valence band. So if only one boron atom is added, okay, when my one of the valence electron in the valence band has occupied that particular hole, then one hole is created in the valence band. Okay, it is not that, suppose if I consider at a T is equal to 0 degrees Kelvin, is your p-type semiconductor is going to act as is p-type semiconductor is going to act as a conductor or insulator? No, your p-type semiconductor also acts as an insulator. Very important. At T is equal to 0 degrees Kelvin, p-type also acts as an insulator. The reason is, at T is equal to 0 degrees Kelvin, you don't get even a single hole in your valence band. Then no conductivity. Okay. So when there is a possibility for your availability of holes in the valence band, means when your valence electrons in the valence band are going to occupy your holes in the acceptor energy level, then holes are going to be created. And how much energy is required is, energy that is available at room temperature is more than sufficient. Okay, so that means adding trivalent impurities to your intrinsic semiconductor is going to provide as many number of holes as you require, but that many number of dopant atoms you have to add. Is this understood? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now let us understand that why p-type semiconductor, why the name P is being coming into the picture. Okay, why the name P is coming into the picture? So whatever the holes that are being generated in the p-type semiconductor is due to what phenomenons? One is at room temperature there will be some electron hole pair generation. Yes or no? At room temperature, which is required for your ionization of your atoms. Okay, see, ionization means if an atom is given an electron, it becomes negative charged ion. If an atom is taken an electron, it becomes positive charged ion. Okay, when once it is given the electron or it is taken the electron, it is going to become ionized. Okay, so electron hole pair generation is going to happen at 300 degrees Kelvin, and because of that, holes are being created. Got my point? Holes are not only due to the dopants, whatever you are adding, but also due to the electron hole pair generation at room temperature. But whatever the electrons are being in your p-type semiconductor are only due to the electron hole pair generation. Okay, they are not due to your adding dopants. Okay, adding dopants is not creating any of the electron. Adding dopants is creating only the holes. So the electrons are only due to the electron hole pair generation at room temperature, whereas the holes are not only due to the dopants but also due to the electron hole pair generation. So that is why holes are majority in number and electrons are less in number. That is why holes are majority charge carriers, electrons are minority charge carriers in a p-type semiconductor. Okay, and not only that, due to the dopants, okay, the negative charge ions are also will be present. Okay, so in a p-type semiconductor, what are all the particles you could see? Holes as majority charge carriers, electrons as minority charge carriers, and also negative charged ion. What do I mean by negative charged ion? I am adding boron atoms or aluminum atoms. Okay, when a boron or aluminum atom is going to become negative charged only when it accepts the electron. it has got accepted the electron, meaning what? The hole has created in the valence band. Because from where does it accepts the electron? From the valence electrons which are present in the valence band. So an atom is accepted an electron means the hole has created in the valence band. Okay, right? So if I say that an atom has ionized, what does it mean? It has contributed a hole. Okay, if I said that an atom has not ionized, what is the meaning? It has not contributed the hole. Though you have added, it has not contributed the hole. Until and otherwise the atom has got ionized. Until and otherwise the atom has accepted the electron, it will not create any hole. When it will accept the electron, when the valence electron in the valence band is going to occupy it. Okay, is this understood? P type.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So lastly, in p type, the number of holes are much greater than the intrinsic carrier concentration that is available, or when compared to the electrons that are available in the p type. That is why we are calling it as p type semiconductor. Okay. So remember this diagram. What is this diagram is? In any p type semiconductor, the charge particles that you could see in general are majority charge carriers holes, minority charge carriers electrons, along with acceptor ions. Okay, along with acceptor ions. Why the name acceptor ions? Because these ions, these trivalent impurity atoms are going to accept the electrons in order to become negative charged ions. So that is why they are called acceptor ions. Okay. So let us consider the n-type semiconductor. As we have understood that n-type means we need to add pentavalent impurities. Pentavalent means it should have 5 valence electrons in its outermost orbit. For example, phosphorus, arsenic, antimony, etc. So here you could see that one of the silicon atom in the intrinsic silicon is replaced with phosphorus atom. And you know that phosphorus is going to have 5 valence electrons, out of which 4 are involved in the covalent bond formation with the neighboring silicon atoms, and 1 electron is associated with the phosphorus atom, so that it is not engaged in the formation of covalent bond with any other silicon atom. Okay, so that if you give energy to this particular electron, it can be brought out of the control of this particular atom, and it is going to become a free electron, so that it will be generating one free electron upon addition of one phosphorus atom. So that is the idea here. Okay, so each phosphorus atom that is being added is going to contribute one free electron, provided that that phosphorus atom is going to get ionized. Okay, ionized means if it donates that electron associated with the extra electron associated with phosphorus atom, then it is going to become the positive charged ion, and there will be availability of free electron in the conduction band. Okay, so if I require 100 electrons, then I need to add 100 such phosphorus atoms, so that I need to provide a small amount of energy, so that all the phosphorus atoms are going to donate the electrons to the crystal, so that there will be availability of free electrons. Okay. So this is the energy band diagram. So I have considered, like earlier, the bottom of the conduction bandage and the top of the valence bandage, and there is introduced an donor energy level corresponding to the phosphorus atom or arsenic atom that we have added. Here it is shown that there are some 10 electrons that are available associated with the phosphorus or donor atoms. And once energy is provided to these electrons, then they can be jumped into the conduction band, so that in the conduction band free electrons are available. Okay. So let me show you the most simplest energy band diagram. So this is EC, EV, and ED refers to the donor energy level. Why donor energy level? Because this is going to donate an electron to the crystal, that is why it is donor energy level. And when will these electrons present in the donor energy level are going to contribute electrons to the conduction band means when energy is provided to those electrons, then all those electrons will be jumping into the conduction band. So now there are free electrons available in the conduction band, or in other words, we are in a position to increase as many number of electrons as possible by means of this adding pentavalent impurity atoms. Okay, the energy required for the electrons in this donor energy level to jump to the conduction band is very less, nearly around 0.01 electron volts at room temperature. So at room temperature, almost all the donor atoms are going to be ionized, and they will be contributing one free electron to the semiconductor. Okay. So even at T is equal to 0 degrees Kelvin, N-type semiconductor also acts as an insulator, because though electrons are available at the donor energy level, but they cannot jump from donor energy level to the conduction band at T is equal to 0 degrees Kelvin. So even the availability of electrons in the donor energy level, N-type semiconductor is called as an insulator at T is equal to 0 degrees Kelvin. So only at T is equal to 300 degrees Kelvin, all these atoms are going to be ionized, or each atom is going to contribute one free electron in the conduction band. Okay. So, and why the reason N-type is because electrons are the majority carriers and holes are the minority carriers. The electrons that are being present in the N-type semiconductor are not only due to the dopants but also due to the electron hole pair generation at 300 degrees Kelvin. So that is why electrons are more in number. Holes are only due to the electron hole pair generation at 300 degrees Kelvin. Okay, so no dopants are contributing the holes in the case of N-type semiconductor. And all the atoms, when they get ionized, they are going to become the positive charged ions, and that is equal in number to the as many number of dopants as we have added. Right? So in an N-type semiconductor, so the charge particles that are present are the electrons are the majority charge carriers and the holes are the minority charge carriers, and there will be present some donor ions, positive charged ions. In fact, these atoms are associated with electrons, and once the electron is getting donated to the crystal, then it is going to become the positive charged ion, and it is called as donor ion. Donor because it is donating the electron to the crystal. And because the number of electrons are very large compared to intrinsic carrier concentration and the number of holes, it is being called as N-type semiconductor. Okay. So what we have seen today is intrinsic semiconductor, where the property of intrinsic semiconductor is N is equal to P is equal to Ni, and for silicon it is 1.5 into 10 to the power of 10 per centimeter cube. And we have seen how hole is going to act as carrier transport in semiconductor, and we have understood that the current in a semiconductor is not only due to the electrons but also due to the holes. So we have seen when an electric field is applied, my flow of electrons will be opposite to the direction of the electric field, and my flow of holes will be in accordance with the direction of the electric field, and my current due to the electrons will be opposite to the electron motion. My current due to the holes will be in the same direction as the hole flow. So the current in a semiconductor is given by not only due to the electrons but also due to the holes. So we have seen an expression for the current in a semiconductor, and we have seen the extrinsic semiconductor, an important process with which we will be increasing only one type of charge carriers in a semiconductor. It is what is called as the doping. And we have seen the types of semiconductors, extrinsic semiconductors. One is p-type, another is n-type, and we have seen in detail what is n-type, what is p-type. Why in n-type electrons are majority carriers, why in p-type holes are the majority charge carriers. So that we have seen so far. So I hope you have understood so far.